My name is Ibrahim Abalde. We are back again on another edition of QTV this morning. Wherever you're watching this program, thank you very much for always tuning in and also sending your contributions and, showing you follow the program all the time. Wherever you are, we might not know your location, but we are saying thank you very much for always following this interesting program. And on the program, I'm with Mr. Momodu Mboj. Mr. Mboj, good morning.
Good morning.
Gisuñ la Demba.
Wow.
Wow. It's important. Wow, legi.
Once in a while, nga skip.
Wow. Nga muna them attend to other things as well.
Absolutely.
Gis nga interestingly, life itself, dafa am yo xamne you have to attend to them. Wow. Amoon na time mang doon waxtaan ak suma raka ma ne ko ne ñun foog nga ne nit si boppam dafa soxla sometimes a day off léegi mënuloo liggéey like 12 months without at least nga noppalu benn bés moo tax ñu am suñ weekend si ñu am Saturday ñu am Sunday so daf dee mun a am daal and the body needs it sometimes.
Well, soo ko xoolee sax the whole day bi sax ci benn fan fine yaa ngi liggéey de waaye yow yaa sa collègue ngeen wax something ngeen ree
waaw yaa ngi refresh
variety of behaviors as it were, interactions even during the day so yeah that's what it is, so da ngaa nanda rek lu nekk am na it's just emphasis as they say. Then you move on. You balance out.
That's true. You need to know how to balance life. I mean, life itself is balancing. I mean, at some point you need that to be able to live a very fruitful life, Yeah, so we are back on the program today. We'll take a look at the quote. From the quote, then we will do the newspaper review. And from the newspaper review, we'll be talking to the Gambia Army PRO, Lieutenant Colonel Lamin K. Sanyang. He will be on the program and we'll be talking about the Councillor training or the Councillor exercise 2024. And we'll also be talking to Ibu Cham, the Finance Minister at the University of the Gambia. Ibu wins money laundering contest, and it's important for us to talk about it. And interestingly, we will also be, we would like to know what it takes to be shortlisted on this award and, what it takes to win this award and how is this award important to Igbo, Mr. Mboj.
Absolutely. I'm quite curious as well. Wins money laundering contest. Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. What does it mean? What do you have to do to win that sort of thing?
Exactly. And how important is this award to our society today? I mean, when you try to, it's money laundering award, how is he going to apply this in our society,
I think the important factor there is money laundering. What is it? How does it work? As if for people to be wiser, to wise up, as it were, on this sort of new crime, as it were, in many ways, particularly with the internet and stuff, makes it easier, as it were, or at least they're getting more opportunities, as it were, to launder money. So yes, it will be interesting.
Exactly, and we have our man here, Mr. Ridrame. He would. Yeah, I mean, he will be reviewing the newspapers with us. Mr. Ade, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yes.
Well, it's good to have you.
It's been a while since I've been on here.
Absolutely. We've
Blame it on Babuka Sisi for taking leave. I have to be chained to my desk.
We missed you down here, man.
Yeah, I miss being here.
Yeah, but I hope you're okay.
I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm dealing with the Hamatan as everybody else is. It's like kind of frog in the throat, but other than that, fine.
We call it the winter for the Gambia.
It's our winter, yes, for sure. It feels quite cold.
For some of you who lived in the UK and Europe, I mean, how is the winter there? Does it come with lot of this little sickness that people feel here? I mean, when it is time in the Gambia, people, most of the people tend to have little sickness.
Yes, you have what they call winter flu. So to the extent that as the winter approaches, people of a certain age are encouraged to get a flu jab to protect them against the winter flu. It can be quite severe for some people. Not everybody gets it, but there are certain sicknesses, illnesses that you get because of the winter, because of the weather. And of course, it can be bitterly cold. It can be really, really cold, colder than your coldest fridge, really. And you know, there are times when it's so cold, sometimes it will snow, and the snow will turn to ice, freeze over. And there are times when 3-4 days nobody can go to work because vehicles are skidding all over the place, and everybody just stays home. It's easier now where people can work from home. But then in the days before the kind of digital age, it was quite disruptive. But you know, for those of us who had to stay home, it was quite nice. You didn't have to brave the weather. But there was once when I had to walk about 5 miles from my home to work because no trains were running, no buses were running. But at least I could wrap up and walk because I lived in Brixton and I worked in Westminster, so it wasn't too far.
And really what you have is that there are certain sicknesses or certain illnesses associated with certain seasons.
Yeah, quite.
In the summer, it's got its own.
Hay fever.
Hay fever,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the season, really.
Exactly. I mean, now we'll move on. We'll take a look at the code. Spend time with the wise, and you will be wise.
You will become
You will
wise.
become wise. I'm losing my reading skills now.
Maybe you need glasses.
I don't know why.
And I think it's important.
I don't know if I am suffering from short-sightedness or long-sightedness. I mean,
or just blindness.
I don't even know.
Just
Now
get
I am
glasses.
living some words. I mean, yeah. So, Mr. Ade.
Spend time with the wise, and you will become wise. Well, potentially, because if you take in what they're imparting to you, what they're saying to you, and you're learning. But if you're ignoring what they're saying, then you'll be as foolish as you were before you started hanging out with them. So yes, but it's like, even if you take it away from this, it's like if you're with in good company, you learn good habits. If you're in bad company, you pick up bad habits. And so if you're with wise people, hopefully you'll pick up wisdom and you'll become wise. So yes, I can see where the quote is coming from. Where does it say? Do we know where it's from?
I think from Proverbs.
Just a proverb.
You know, the Bible.
Okay, right.
Proverbs.
Right.
No,
Okay,
I think there is an origin of this proverb.
Yeah, which is
You
what
know,
Mr. Yes.
where
exactly.
it originates from.
Because
Yes.
it continues.
Right.
But the friends of food
right.
will suffer.
Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Yes. So
That's
yes.
the whole.
Okay.
So possibly our first quote with a biblical
exactly.
origin.
So in fact, let's apply this to our society today. I mean, spend time with the rich and you will become rich.
I'm
Does
not
that
sure
make
that's
you
what
rich?
it says.
Does it make you rich?
Does anybody really need to answer that?
Tell me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, quite.
You know, because of spending time with the wise.
Yeah, quite.
It depends on who you associate with. That to some
right.
extent really influences your character, isn't
But
it?
yes, but if you hang out with rich people, you might pick up tips on how they became rich,
but
and you yourself
not necessarily.
might become rich. But you know, if they've done something that is unique, that it can't be repeated, then you can't do that same thing.
Yeah.
But it might teach you how to do something else that you're interested in. So it could happen, but
Not
many
necessarily.
times
So that's
not
the
necessarily.
goods. What I say, the goods of the mind.
Yeah,
You
correct.
acquire them. They're different from the goods of
Of
material
the
life.
material,
They're
yes,
very
correct.
different ways of acquiring these things.
That's
Yeah?
right. So yes, so you might acquire good business knowledge by hanging out with rich people. So maybe we should all start doing that. And who knows, next year will be.
So let's move on. Let's take our first story on the Fourier newspaper. And this story reads, no cars at Secos to commence groundnut trade season in NBR.
No, what? Cash?
Cash, yes.
Oh.
At Seco.
At the Secos, yes.
Says who? Oh, it's just a
Well,
headline.
it's the main headline on the
Fourier.
Fourier newspaper. Probably the cars have not been disembossed yet. I mean, maybe they are waiting for for there to be payment.
I thought it was all going to be done kind of electronically these days anyway. So cash, very dangerous to have wads of cash hanging around.
In fact, for me, my problem is not the cash. My problem is seeing that machine, that Seco machine, in grasses. I mean, look at the grass, how tall the grass is.
The grass has
Mr.
consumed
Ade,
it.
Mr. Ade, I mean, I think these are things that we should be, I mean, taking good care
It's
of.
a very dramatic picture there, but
Look at the
you
picture.
wonder what it's. I suspect it's kind of taken out of context because you're talking about no cash
At Secos.
and you wonder what that machine covered in grass and weeds has to do with there being no cash there. Somebody's being very naughty there. I think, I'm not sure what the point is they're trying to make with the picture, but I don't see.
Some kind of incongruity.
Yes,
the headline and the image. And the other question I have, what do you mean, all Secos?
Or some.
No, Secos in NBR.
One? I know, in NBR I know, so this is my point still.
Yeah, go on.
He just says, no cash at Secos.
Yes, go on.
I can ask, you mean all Secos in NBR?
Yeah, go on.
Or is it some?
Well,
You know,
right.
it's when you read the story, really,
yeah,
that's
then you
when
get
you
to
get
know.
these details.
And it will be interesting to know, as you hint
That's
there,
the
whether this is a problem, in quotes, in other parts of the
Exactly.
country, in other regions. Are they also having the same lack of cash? And why is that? There is no cash in NBR. Don Williams, are you watching? Find out for us.
Exactly.
So our regional correspondent, I'm sure Don Williams will be on it as we speak. So Don, you shouldn't be watching this show. You should be out there hounding the people at the Secos and finding out what that's all about. So yeah, I mean, that's all we can say on that one because we don't have the facts to hand really. Yeah.
Yesterday, we were on this program with the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission,
Yes.
John Charles Njai. Am I right?
Were you here with John Charles?
Juf, rather.
I was going to say,
Mr.
I
Juf,
saw
rather.
Emmanuel Daniel Juf was here.
Because
good,
John
yes.
Charles,
Yeah,
that's
John-
It's
reminding me-
the Information
Yeah,
Commission.
Commission.
I'm talking
He's
about
one of the
Juf.
commissioners.
Juf.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he was here.
In fact,
and-
I'm the
and
one who let him in.
Yes,
Yeah.
they trained some police officers on how to deal with, I mean, scenes, you know, without getting to a level of torture,
and
you know.
and yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I asked him, what is torture itself? What is crowd control at some point? There are times that, you know, the police can control a particular crowd and it looks like torture because once the crowd retaliate, at some point the police also retaliate.
That's
So
not-
it becomes a big problem.
That's not necessarily torture.
Yes.
No, I mean they can inflict pain on them and so on. They can use tear gas and so on. But torture, and so did he explain to you what torture was?
Well, there are different categories of torture.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what
But
he
crowd
said.
control, where they inflict pain or suffering, it's not necessarily torture. It's pain or it's suffering or whatever the case may be. We've had incidents around Africa in the last week or two where supposedly peaceful crowds were tear gassed, you know. That happens a lot, but you wouldn't class that as torture. It's poor behavior from the police, yes, but it's not necessarily torture.
Unless one wants to invoke this sort of murky concept of psychological torture. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, whatever definition one might have.
Because we've seen,
So,
I mean, you know, the George Floyd case is one where, you know, somebody for a minor infraction ended up losing his life. And sadly, as we saw with that case and others, a lot of black men in America particularly, the police tend to deal with them more harshly than when if they're white. There was a famous incident that they showed where this guy had gone on a rampage, white kid, let's say kid 19 or 20. He shot some, and when the police arrested him, they didn't beat him half to death. They asked him if he wanted water. He was in handcuffs, and they were giving him water to drink. If that was a black guy, he'd be dead. You know, so you know, the police in America don't have a particularly good reputation. So it's not just our police that need to be taught these things. But yes, we should, because we've come out of a system where police felt they could act with impunity. They could do things without being punished. and so they need to be. This is a new era. It's a new dispensation. You need to treat people, and in a democracy, even people protest as long as they're not protesting violently. You don't have to wade into them and start beating them up. So yeah, so we need to reinforce these with our police force for sure.
Senabu Martin says KMC inflated Mbalit truck price.
This was part of the ongoing commission, which has got some hair-raising revelations. Yeah, I mean that one, I guess it will be tested by the commission because it's a claim, and if it's proven to be correct, then possibly action will follow. As with a lot of these claims and allegations that have come up at the commission, some of them, as I keep saying every time we talk about them, they're quite scary, but they tell us nothing new. We've always suspected these things were happening. Now we have the evidence. And that's what I said to some of the journalists in the team. I said before you could say this or that, it's a rumor and so on. But when you have somebody who was in the system telling you that this is how rotten the system was and what happened, then, you know, we hear it all the time.
And Senabu Martin here, ex-CEO, accused of what, financial impropriety, to say the least. So it will be interesting to see, you know, what weight.
Yes, that's right. You can give to
testimony, absolutely, given the whole context.
But yeah, I keep saying to people, pay attention to this commission because there are many revelations that are coming from it. And if people want to be activists, this is where you get your evidence. It's not the rumor, not, oh, I know this guy, he works at such a place, he's built 4 houses. You don't know. But if somebody comes, as they said these days, with the receipts, they come with the evidence, you have your evidence. You know, it's like we were talking about the case the other day when this person made an allegation against a minister. Bring your evidence if you have it.
So 11 communities in CRR announce defection to UDP.
How can a community defect? If I live in a community, I can vote for whom. It's a secret ballot. When I go into the box to drop my marble, you're not accompanying me. Nobody's accompanying me.
But Mr. Ade, you don't understand how these communities work.
I know.
Most of these communities will gather themselves. Probably.
Trust me, I know.
Probably. The head of the family will come and tell you, all my family are now behind you. So that's how they
You're talking to somebody whose father was a politician.
Thank you. You know.
So when my father took over, he was contesting against a sitting minister, one RGO King.
What a tough race.
And he thought he was going to have a tough race, but he asked a simple question. This man has been your MP for 5 years.
What have you done?
What has he done for you? And they said, oh, he's done this, he's done that. And then he asked the crucial question. What would you like him to have done that he has not done? And they said, we are a fishing village. He has never bought us a single boat. So he bought boats for all the fishermen.
Look at that.
And he won the election.
Look at the strategy he used.
So that won him the election. And, you know, you think about it, to unseat a minister who was the incumbent was not an easy thing, but it was a simple strategy.
So 11 communities in CRR.
For me, this is the thing. How do we know that? Who represents the community? Because when you look at these communities, yes, be it an alcalo, be it a respectable person, you have others who wouldn't join you.
Yeah, quite.
So I have a feeling that should we go to these so-called communities, then you'll have I don't know, sometimes it's been self-appointed leaders
who say
sort of saying that they're speaking on behalf of a community. But you would realize that within the community, you have so many divisions.
Yeah.
So they're just representing one faction, not all the factions. So I'm just interrogating this thing about 11 communities coming together. I have a feeling that it is not as simple as that.
Quite. I mean, the election will be the acid test. If the election comes and we find out that the UDP got 100% of the vote in that community, then
and how many people might have voters card in that community?
This is the thing. So
those are things that also we need to consider.
you can have a voter's card, and do you vote?
But
we don't have 100%.
2026 is here.
It's almost
very
here.
soon, almost here.
Yes.
So we will definitely find out. Yes. So ferry services, GM unveils 2025 blueprint ahead of new ferry.
Yes.
It's long overdue. It's about time now.
No, we know. We were told that it was coming, so this is not a surprise. And as you rightly say, we're waiting for it. The ones, because we use them so frequently that, they inevitably had mechanical problems, they had breakdowns, but it's been fairly regular and a decent service, and people have benefited from it. But they needed to be upgraded, and we were told that this was going to happen, and we were given the timeline. Pardon me. We were given a timeline, and so, yeah, we wait and see what the new, what's ahead for 2025. Everybody's looking forward to it, particularly the ones who, in fact, one of my cousins did the Barra crossing yesterday, and he was panicking because he thought he might miss his flight. And I said to him, well, why did you go up, other side of the river if you knew you were meant to be at the airport? So I hope he caught his flight, because he had an early morning flight, I think. He had an early morning flight. You see what I was saying about the weather affecting my throat, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the ferries, we're all looking forward to see what are the new ones going to look like, and how good are they going to be. And I would like to see greater emphasis placed on safety, because I think we've been lucky so far. When you see how crowded they get, that we've not had a disaster, and God forbid that we should, but I think we need
I think it's about time for us to start talking about bridging Barra and Banjul. Might be expensive, very expensive.
I don't know about now to start talking. People have been talking about it for the longest time.
But when we are talking about bridging Barra Banjul, we don't even talk about it much, because the mental picture that we have, it's very expensive.
The cost, the financial aspect of it. That always gives us a reality check. It's like Sierra Leone. They've been talking about Lunge to Freetown bridge, because if there's a bridge, once you land, you'll be in Freetown in 10 minutes rather than 45 minutes or an hour. But that bridge is going to cost about $2 billion. Where's Sierra Leone going to get that? So a bridge of the magnitude you're talking about, Banjul, will be quite costly. And we're not a rich country. I keep telling people this when they said, oh, we should build that bridge. Build it with what? Peanuts? So.
Yeah, Mr. Mboj, during your childhood days in Banjul, how were you, what mode of transport do you have between Barra and Banjul?
Oh my God, the same ferry.
Yeah.
What? The same ferry?
Well,
not the same ferry, but ferry.
It's
a ferry service.
What else can take you there?
Yeah, quite.
And I can't say that I made much.
Well, I was about to say, there were many Banjulians who never ever made that crossing.
I don't think I ever did when I was younger in Banjul at all.
Many.
For us, Banjul was the world.
This is it. And it's
coming
kind
to
of
Serakunda was like God, traveling. It seemed like a long
I can remember
trip.
when I was schooling in Banjul, some of the Banjulians, they called me up. You're from up.
Up country.
Yeah, that's what we did.
They called me Combo. You're from up.
Yeah. No, but for me, with this story as well, they said, okay, fine, you've got the new ferries. And then I asked the question, but really, what has been the problem? Maybe getting the ferry is one of them, but if other bits are not fixed, it's just a matter of time. If something is structurally not right, you may bring in these things, but in the longer term, with a new thing, you'll keep on using it. But in the end, if whatever was wrong was still in there, then we'll go back to that pattern. How do you break the pattern? Is it really with the ferries? Is that really what the issue is?
I've always assumed that the problem has been the sheer amount of usage that we make of it. I mean, we use it quite a lot. And of these things need to be maintained regularly, and there are times when you have to take them out of service to give them proper and full maintenance. But because it's already, so you do kind of half a job and you stick it out there again, and then of course it breaks down. But generally, it's not been dreadful, you know, the number of times that it's been taken out of service, really. There's been the odd occasion and it makes the news, but it's not as if it's happening every week.
I don't know how far with the new ferry service they were talking about the other time. I've seen something been built, you know, along the Bond Road Highway. I mean, sort of a ramp for the ferry. Yeah. So I don't know how far have they gone. Whether
maybe that's part of the plans that he's talking about for 2025. That might be part of it.
But that's a different company. I mean, this is a private company.
True. That's true.
Yes. So let's move on. We also have government launches employment forum to create 150,000 jobs.
Yeah, I saw the information minister, I think it was at the final press conference, saying that they were on track to do this, and nobody challenged him for the stats, for the data, for the evidence. He just said it, and nobody, I would have been screaming if I'd been in that hall. Show me the evidence. Like 150,000 jobs. That's a big number, really.
Considering some of the, I mean, more pressing issues that governments have, I mean, to address and creating these jobs too. I think it should have been creating jobs for the youth of this country or the people of the Gambia. Instead of
I've never seen that as government's job. So even when His Excellency the President said it, it's not his job.
You create your own jobs.
You create an enabling
environment for the jobs.
You know, because you should get away from the system that we have in many countries, where the biggest employer in the country is the government. You know, and if you had devolved some of these parastatals, particularly, into, you know, sold them off into private, it might have made them a bit more efficient, possibly. But, you know, we keep wanting government to be the one to create jobs. Government should create an enabling environment. That's their job, not actually creating jobs as such. But, you know, once a president has made that statement, then his government is handcuffed to it. They have to live up to it. And as I said, when the information minister, Ismail Assise, said that they were on track, I would have said, show me the evidence. I don't think he did.
Yes, and I would like to know how they arrived at this number. What percentage would be from public sector or private sector? I'm not sure whether these things, I haven't heard any information regarding this. So this is the thing.
So in the new year, I will attend one of these press conferences to ask some questions, because I sit there, sometimes I'm frustrated, I have to say, at what I'm hearing from my fellow journalists. There are some who are asking questions and they've not come properly prepared, and so they're easy to bat away. I think go there with having done your research and know what it is you want to ask. Don't ask something that's already been answered or that's not particularly relevant. And I hear a lot of that when I watch every time we've done the live coverage of those press conferences. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a big figure, and it will be interesting to see how they're going to.
So that's it, and their whole schema, where they hope that it will go, because perhaps not every employment would necessarily be part of this scheme, if you know what I mean. So one might come and say, come with the explanation that, you see, all of these employments that we've made, for instance, in government, that's all part of the scheme. Because when you tell me that 150, one assumes that you've already worked out the channels.
Well, yes, and you know, maybe which sectors and so on.
And that sort of thing. So show us that what you had worked out, that's really what's creating this employment,
well,
as it were. Otherwise, you know, how would we judge?
And there's a fine balancing act between modernizing and, you know, and creating jobs. For example, I give you in the banks, 30, 40 years ago, you'd go into most banks in the Western world and there'd be 20 tellers. You write your check, hand it over. Now, you could be with a bank for 20 years and never set foot inside a bank. You do everything using your card. we're talking about going towards food self-sufficiency using mechanized things. If I bring in a machine that does the work of 150 men, I've made 150 men redundant. Am I going to find jobs for them? So you have that balancing act. And that's why in many African countries they haven't mechanized, because it would actually put a lot of people out of work.
And you see, with the advent of technology, like you mentioned, I mean, many people are going to lose, I mean, their jobs. I mean, at some point. I'm no more seeing a lot of typing centers where you come and you type and print and copy.
You can type on your phone.
I'm not seeing that anymore.
Quite.
Before we go to the internet cafe,
I know,
where
we
write our emails and send it. But now we do everything here in a click. So I think we have to be realistic on how to create certain things, you know, to make it easy for people. But another story saying APRC kingpin tells Barrow to give deaf ear to special tribunal.
Yeah, we know the ECOWAS heads of state recently, the parliament had rejected a special tribunal for the Gambia, but the heads of state kind of overruled that at their meeting in Abuja just the other day, over the weekend, and they said it can go ahead. So it will be a mixture of international law and Gambian law. And of course, the reason they're saying that is because, of course, a lot of the people who will be tried will be for Jammeh era crimes. So really, that's why APRC, some of them who are still in love with Yahya Jammeh, don't want people who were under his regime to be prosecuted by this tribunal. But it's being given the go-ahead, and it looks like it's going to come.
And to me here, I mean, he would say that, wouldn't he? And with that, the ECOWAS Parliament, it was quite interesting, because yesterday, remember, we talked about it, and during my research, I read one rebuttal, you know, the newspaper headline saying that the Parliament had rejected it. Hussein Thomas is sort of saying that actually that wasn't what quite happened, because they really do not have the mandate to reject or accept anything. They had actually deferred it.
Yes, because some people had spoken against it. So it didn't get a kind of, it wasn't given a rubber stamp. So they kind of parked it.
They parked it.
And said, we'll leave it to the heads of state.
So it went through different channels until, you know, the heads of state decided, and that's what happened.
Exactly. So, Mr. Adedrame, thank you very much for reviewing the papers.
Is that all? Gosh.
That's all. You know, will allow you to go and do the news for us.
And sweat over my
because we are expecting to have our news at 8 p.m.
Yes, and yes, not 11 minutes past 8.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So viewers, will take a short break. After the break, we will be talking to Ibu Cham, Finance Minister at the University of the Gambia. He recently won an award called Money Laundering Award. I mean, he was given that award. So we want to know what are the criteria to win that award.
Sure.
So we'll be right back.
Q Money and Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your Q Money wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your Q Money account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Q Money e Orange Money joni weɓini nuldugol mbuɗi mi yetoma joni ida wawi nuldude mbuɗi iwra ko Gambia ɗo yaha Senegal e Q Money wallet ma on eyyi ko hon wonɗa e fadde mi yetoma udduto Q Money account ma on joni fuɗɗoɗa nuldude mbuɗi e teriɓe ma rewa ɗon ka Orange Money nder Senegal fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi ida wawi nuldude Q Money customer care e 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ɗum no yaadi e sartaji. Q Money anin Orange Money ye bulodi nyola pour ka kodi kio sone yandi ka bonan Gambia banko kan kata Senegal banko kan anin Q Money wallet e ka mune batu e muna fan Q Money account wala sign pour ka dati ka kodoki e terimal anila dimbayal kana anin Orange Money Senegal ni lafta ku Senegal sotola je Q Money customer care commandi 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ñing sartolle bala. Q Money ak Orange Money ñoo lëkkaloo pour yombalal leen yónnee xaalis bàyyi ko Gambia dem ba Sénégal ak Q Money wallet looy toog di xaar dawal léegi nga ubbi Q Money account pour nga mun a door di yónnee xaalis sa xariteeg sa mbokk yi jaarale ko Orange Money Sénégal léegi pour am si lu leer mun nga call Q Money customer care si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Did you know you can buy cash power using Q Money Wallet absolutely free up to $30,000 Cs? Use our app or dial 323# and select Q Power. Choose Register Meter. Enter your meter number. Dial *323# and follow these simple steps. Number 1, select option 3 for Q Power. Number 2, choose option 1 to buy any amount of Q Power. Enjoy free QCell airtime every time you cash in to purchase Q Power. For any inquiries, call 133. Q Money, Sunyu Kalbe.
We are back. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Opalde. Now let's move to the third segment of this program. We have in the studios Ibu Cham, Finance Minister at the University of the Gambia. He recently won an award, the Money Laundering Award in Monrovia, Liberia. So it's good to have Ibu in the studios, for him to take us through what this award is all about, and what are some of the criteria that one needs to take, to be able to win this award. But first, Ibu, can you tell us what does this award means to you?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Balde. Good morning to the beautiful viewers of Good Morning Show of QTV. My name is Ibu Cham, the Finance Minister of the University of the Gambia Students' Union, a final year accountancy student from the School of Business and Public Administration. So few weeks back, on the 2nd of December, I left the Gambia to the capital city of Liberia, Monrovia, to partake in a competition about money laundering. The subject of this event was the impact of anti-money laundering and the counter of financing terrorism on the West African economic. And this year's event was, this year's theme was the impact of JABA. JABA is the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering that is in West Africa. So the impact that they had on the West African economics towards the fights against money laundering. So coming back to your question, which is what does this awards means to me? So actually, this awards means a lot to me because it shows my hard work and equally my diligence towards this, because since I was nominated by the University of the Gambia, because the invitation came through the Vice Chancellor's office, and it was directed to the office of the Director of Students Affairs, then to the Students' Union. Then I was nominated because I am the Finance Minister, and this particular competition was kind of related to finance, so I was nominated to represent the University of the Gambia at large and the Gambia as well. And it means a lot to me because, I actually did not, I did a lot of work in order to achieve this, because it was a competition between 5 different countries, and me as a representative of the Gambia, going up to Monrovia and emerge as the champion of this particular competition, it definitely means a lot to me. Thank you.
Exactly. So
I wonder who organized it?
Yes, the competition was organized by JABA. the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering. So JABA is a body that is set by the ECOWAS. It was set in December 10, 1999, and their main motive was to fight against money laundering, terrorist financing, and equally proliferation financing as well.
So let's talk about the criteria. I mean, what does it take for one to win this?
Well, first it requires, what happened first, this is the 7th forum. Yeah, it has been happening for the past years, and year before last, in 2022, it was held in the Gambia here. Unfortunately, again, the Gambians also, won the award as well. So the criteria to win this is actually, not easy because it requires a lot of effort, and it require a lot of research as well, because since I was nominated, this was the end of November until December 3rd, I have made a lot of research, and I was able to go through a lot of publications that were made by JABA in order to have an in-depth understandings about anti-money laundering and how those also money laundering also works. So this gave me an in-depth understanding on how to defend myself on that particular platform in order to win this particular champion, and came out first in this competition.
But I wonder, what exactly did you do to win this?
Exactly. So what I did is, as I told you, when I was nominated, I made a lot of research. First, that was my first step. I made a lot of research, and I also, look for mentors that also mentored me, especially the FIU of the Gambia. I visited the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Gambia that is located in Bijulo, and they were able to guide me through and give me more, details, and give me more facts about how money laundering work and what are the mechanisms that can be used in order to counter, money laundering, and equally counter terrorist financing as well. So through this and research, and equally with the help of my peers, I was able to, build a very, very strong speech. And actually, when I went there, I was able to deliver the speech well, and it convinced the judges, and I was able to be awarded as the winner of this competition.
Can you share with us some of the findings of the research?
Exactly. So some of the findings of the research, we understand that money laundering, it's like when somebody, use illegal money and then try to make it clean. Like, let's say, for instance, if somebody involved in drug dealings, right? You involved in drug dealings and happen to get a lot of amount of money. So we understand that that money is an illicit money. It's not clean. So taking that money and, putting it in our economic have a very, very, negative impact in the economy. So what we find out was the impact of anti-money laundering. We understand that whenever there is money laundering in an economic, first, it discourages what we call foreign investment. Because these foreign investors, before they get to invest in a particular country, they have to make background checks. But now, if they make background checks and get to understand that the Gambia, let's say certain percentage of the Gambian people involved in money laundering, and most of their monies are actually not clean. So this discourages foreign investments as well. And I also get to understand through my research that whenever there is money laundering, it also leads to what we call, when people tax evasion, people would tend to dodge away from paying tax. Because let's say, for instance, today, if somebody involved in money laundering, now you were able to launder, let's say, $2 billion. That person will never approach the government officials to tell them that, this is my source of funding. This is my source of finance. This is how I get this money. Because you understand that you get that money through an illegal way. So it's obvious that that amount of money will not be charged a tax. So this will also have an impact in our economic as well. So again, let's say when somebody happened to launder money. So now this person, that's why we have the stages of money laundering. We have the first one, which is the placement stage. So at this point in time now, if somebody get to launder money, the person will try to make sure, how can I do in order to make sure that this money will come back to the economic clean, right? That's why we have the placement stage. You also have what we call the layering stage, and we also have the integration stage. So now the placement stage, at that point in time, is where they get to take this money and try to put it in banks and try to invest it in casinos as well. So at this point in time now, they're trying to make sure that the money comes out in the economic clean. right? But now, first, they might want to take that money and invest it in, let's say, real estate companies. They might take that money and buy assets. So when that happens, so you get to understand now, they might buy those assets or invest that money on real estates in an exorbitant price. The price will be very, very high, and this alone could increase the prices of those particular assets, and that could also lead to the citizen of a particular country not to be able to, be a competitor in order to have access to that particular properties as well. So these and many more are other factors that impact, that money laundering have on our West African economy as well.
How big a problem is it in this country? Do we know?
Yes, in West Africa at large.
What about Gambia? Have you sort of narrowed it down to Gambia?
Yes, in Gambia, actually my research, yes, I've gotten, research regarding the Gambia, but I did not get figures. But in West Africa, it estimated that $50 billion it's laundered annually, right? So we understand that this is a big problem. Looking at how small West Africa is, and every year, if you estimate that $50 billion is laundered annually, so that's a big crime or it's a big problem. So that's why in West Africa I was able to get that figures as well. So in the globe as well, it's also estimated that up to $8 billion to $2 trillion are laundered annually in West Africa, in the globe as well.
Have you evaluated our strategies of tackling it? How effective are they?
Yes, so the evaluates of tackling it, what I get to learn from my research is looking at the Financial Intelligence Unit, because these bodies were established by the the JABA, because in order for them to help them to work with the respective institutions in order to fight against money laundering. So what they do is to create awareness and equally build capacities as well, because this money laundering, it's very, very difficult to detect, right? Very difficult. So now what they do is they build the capacities of those individuals that mostly work with those people that launder money. Let's say, for instance, because today if somebody launder money, the person will see, how am I going to take this money and invest it in the bank? Right? That's why the Financial Intelligence Unit work hand in glove with banks in order to make sure that they build those that are in the compliance office of the banks in order for them to know. That's why in the banks we have what we call KYC, which is know your customers. Right? Today, if you want to open an account with any bank, they have to take you somewhere through a process and get to know who you are in detail. Right? So all these things, these capacities are being built by the FIU in order to capacitate the individuals that work in this particular aspect. Likewise, those that also work in the legal aspect as well. Because sometimes when somebody involved in money laundering, when the person is happened to be caught in certain activities, the person might be taken to court. So it's also important for those that involved in the legal aspect to have an in-depth knowledge about how money laundering works and what are the process in order to make sure that those projects.
I wanted to ask, how does your work align with the legal and ethical standard in this country?
My research?
Yes.
Yes. So my research, I get to understand along the way that just like what I was saying before, which is relating to the FIU, because according to the research I've gotten, the FIU are doing well when it comes to the implementations of the policies, because we have the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, which is the main body. Right, so this body have 40 recommendations, and now the role of JABA and equally the role of the Financial Intelligence Unit is to make sure that these 40 recommendations are being implemented to the core. Right, so they get to implement these recommendations that have been given by the Financial Action Task Force. So those implementations through those reports or through that recommendation, so you get to have a point where the legal bodies are also involved, meaning the respective intelligence unit need to build the capacities of those involved in the legal aspect and equally build in the those working in the bank sector in order for them to have an in-depth understanding about this matter as well. Yes.
Exactly, Mr. Moyo.
You are the Minister of Finance. I'm moving a bit away from that, of UTG.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Have you recently, our National Minister of Finance delivered his budget speech. Do you do such things as well?
Yeah, we do.
Have you delivered yours?
Well, we have what we call the a Congress. So in the Congress, we normally deliver our financial report. But again, in our constitution, we also have what we call a financial delivering of your annual budget. So the annual budget should be presented to the legislative body. So that's the, we have arms of the government, we have the legislative body, and we also have the judiciary tribunal. So the legislative body is more of the National Assembly of the Council. So what we do as a finance minister, you prepare your annual budget and you present that annual budget to the legislative body as well.
Where do you get money?
Well,
because with the state we pay taxes and other ways.
Yes.
What about with you people?
Yeah, we have subventions from the university.
As in membership, the members?
Yes, exactly, because students contribute 1,200 to part of their tuition fee that should go to the students' union, right? So that's part of their development fee. So with internet fee and other stuffs. So part of that, every year, the University of the Gambia will subvent the students' union. And again, we also have other partners, because sometimes we have activities like QCell and any other partners. We normally knock into their doors, and they also support when we have activities, both in financial aspect and equally in other kinds as well.
Before we get to the final question, what are some of the challenges that normally you face, when doing your research?
Yeah, so the challenge was like one, because what happened, it's something that I have never embarked on, right? So that was a challenge first. And the second thing, I did not know what was I expecting to get there, because I've never partake in any activity regarding this. Yeah, but the challenge I faced was, I get to make a lot of research, and through that research, I encounter a lot of difficulties as well. But the main challenge I faced along the way was not knowing what I was expecting to receive or what I was expecting to have, because at some point, it was confusion. It was like a debate. It was like a speech. It was like, a presentation. So at some point in time, it was very, very challenging for us to understand, not myself only, but in fact for all participants to understand exactly what we were going to expect there. But through my research and through the support of other individuals like the Students' Union, the entire Students' Union body, and the FIU as well, I was able to overcome all those challenges as well. Yes.
Finally, so what plans do you have, do you have to achieve in the future? Yeah,
thank you very much. During my research, I actually built a lot of interest in this anti-money laundering, because I get to understand that it's a big crime, and there are many Gambians that are not aware about this. Right. So when I came from Monrovia, I visited the FIU building and I spoke with the director, Mr. Alaji Dabo, and I actually raised a proposal to him, because what I get to understand that there are many Gambians that did not know anything about this. So what I told him was, since I have partake in this competition and I came back, so what I want is, I want to make sure that I will not only stop here, but I will try to make more advocates regarding this. And what he told me was to go back and then draft a proposal and share it with them. Then we can see how best we can work together in order to make sure that we implement those proposals. And currently I am working on that proposal. When it is done, I will go back to FIU and we see how best we can work together.
Thank you very much, for appearing on QTV this morning and sharing your work with us. And of course, once again, congratulations, and we wish you all the best. I mean, this is a win for the Gambia.
Definitely.
I mean, you going to Monrovia and receiving an award, and the MC mentioning the name of Gambia to the world. I think that's an achievement. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you on this program again.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
So viewers, at this point we'll take a short break. After the break, we'll be talking to Colonel Lamin K. Sanyang, PRO of the Gambia Armed Forces, and we will be discussing about the Kansala Training 2024. We'll be right back.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte.
hidandi da wawi sodude cash power e Q Money wallet maong te a yobata hay hunde ida wawi sode ko yehi ha guluji capan $30. Ko watano baby wadu dial star 323 has joka sartaji ding suboda option 3 fi Q power. Ontumasi suboda register meter number sa gaini natina number meter maong. Wadu dial star 323 has joka sartaji ding suboda option 3 fi Q power. Ontumasi suboda ko jelu falda sodude. Awawa hebude ko bura Andre free QCell airtime watu kala soduda Q power fi hebugol hen ko labi de wayno de 133 Q Money sunyu kalpe.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Korealo neko anila Q Money wallet isa Q power sanno katafo wulitan saba andung ita fenjola. Ibe minkela ibanna Apple download la wala yesta 323 has dial B yebula sartol noma. Follow ye register mita tombo. Fulanjao yela mita number dundi. Yesta 323 has dial B yebula sartol noma. Follow iba number 3 la detela puri yakiu power soto no. Fulanjao iba number 1 la detela katombondirke hapola ilafta min sanna. Amanda Wola, wati ye kodo dundi pour ka Q power san, Q cell beso la free bonus lale. Ni lafta kuma ko yomo yele nyinto, kumandiro ke 133. Q Money, sunyu kalpe.
We are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's head to the last segment of this program. And we'll be talking to the public relation officer of the Gambia Armed Forces, Colonel Lamin K. Sanyang. And we'll be talking about the Consular Training or the Consular Exercise 2024. And it's good to have you here, Colonel Sanyang.
Thank you very
once
much.
Again.
It's a pleasure being back here at the QTV.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's good to have you. I mean, when I hear the name Kansala, it reminds me of Fonyi Kansala. It reminds me the Battle of Kansala. So please, what is the primary objective of this exercise?
Thank you very much. Basically, the Gambia Armed Forces and the other security services under the Ministry of Interior will be embarking on a field training exercise codenamed Exercise Consular 2024.
Okay.
And the main objective, like you asked, of this exercise is to train our personnel and those of the other security services in the skills of intelligence collection and intelligence gathering, and also to test our level of interoperability. Because if you look at the setting of the exercise itself is an internal security operation setting and also a counterinsurgency setting. And in those kind of operations, it's not only the role of the armed forces, but the other security service and agencies have a role to play. So it will be very important to exercise our troops in this kind of domains wherein we will be able to test how easy it is for us to collaborate and coordinate that brings in the issue of interoperability. And then the other objective we also want to achieve from this exercise is also how the naval component, that's the Gambian Navy, comes to play a role in internal security operations and counter-insurgency operations. And last but not least of the exercise is what is called the soft power. It's not only about kinetics, fighting wars, firing here and there the enemy, but there's also that soft element that we also inject into the operation, which has to do with our outreach activities, be it civil military coordination. And in that endeavor, in this exercise, we want to use our medical personnel, our Gambia Armed Forces engineers, and of course also the Public Relations Directorate. For the Public Relations Directorate, we have been almost 2 weeks now sensitizing the public on this exercise. And for the medical personnel, during the exercise, there are some communities that we have identified where our medical personnel will go to screen people, the community, free of charge. And then if we find any ailments or issues, we will be able to administer first aid kind of medication. And those that need referral to primary health care or major health facilities, our doctors will be able to give that advice.
Colonel, how...
And, for the engineers, we have identified some communities where we will have to embark on some kind of quick impact projects, like repairing some of their facilities. We have identified some mosques where we'll be taking praying mats, even repairing some of their roofs. Short, because the duration of the training is just 5 days. So within that period, we should be able to embark on doing this. And this soft power that we are injecting into the operation is a standard all over the world. If you observe, even the ECOMIC, part of some of their mandate is to provide medical facilities and also civic and other things. So for this is to help us also be able to win hearts and minds of the people in those communities.
So how will this exercise, how will it contribute to the overall readiness and preparedness of our army?
This exercise is a major one, and this is the first time, in fact, I can say members of the armed forces, without outside intervention, coming in, is embarking on such a major exercise. So what we decided to do as a start, we just start from a lower level, that is to train a battalion size. So the number of personnel and troops that are involved in this is about 726. We have 645 from the Gambia Armed Forces. There then you'll have some from the National Army, the Navy, and also the Republican National Guard, including the State Guard personnel. And then the other 81 will be composed of personnel from the Gambia Police Force, and they will be contributing 45 personnel, the SIS 10, Immigration Department 10, Drug Law Enforcement 10, and I guess also Fire and Rescue Services is also bringing in 6 personnel. So by and large, what we're trying to achieve in this is to exercise our troops in being able to master the art of dealing with internal security and counterinsurgency crisis. Because if you observe the original mandate or rationale behind creating most of these armed forces all over the world is to ward off external aggression. In those days, we used to have wars between nations and nations. So even coming to you, the Kansala thing, when you look at it, it's way down in history, back in Guinea-Bissau, when we had the Kansala Empire. So all the wars that they were waged around that time, had to do with one tribe or one region trying to dominate the other. I can vividly remember probably the Kabu Janchos and the Fulani. Those wars that were waged, and that caused mass influx of people from Kabu, going all down the way to Gambia, and even that area in Fonyi. So even the code name Kansala, we coined it out of the region where this operation is going to be held. The troops will be moving from Sibanor.
Oh, it's happening in Fonyi? It's
happening in Fonyi. We are kickstarting tomorrow.
Fonyi Kansala?
Fonyi Kansala.
Okay.
That's where they build the culmination, in Kanila itself.
Oh.
So the troops will start moving from tomorrow, the 19th, and by the 23rd of December, they will be in Kanilai or around Kanilai. So there are some communities that they will be passing through, and then they will be having what is called administrative breaks, where they will harbor and then conduct some of these civic activities I talked about, like meeting community leaders.
Okay.
For the public relations, we have been doing this prior. We've sent our teams to the communities to talk to them so that they don't be taken unawares, to know that this is an exercise which is routine, and that our personnel will be coming. So whenever they see them, they should not panic but go ahead with their business. Because we also realize that, it's the farming season is still not over. People are into harvesting their groundnuts.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to also obstruct that, and the women are also harvesting their rice fields. So our troops will be marching around those areas along the border, the southern border with Senegal. So we also took that into consideration to sensitize them that whenever they see our troops, because it will be both day and night, we'll have our personnel on patrols, on movements, and also to assure them that the ammunition that we used is going to be blank ammunition. It's not going to be threatening.
Okay.
So that's also something that we also shared with members of the public.
Okay.
Yes. Earlier you said this is really the first time that you're holding such an event.
Yes, sir.
So I would love to know what was the gap or the lack that you had identified so that this exercise would address? What lack is it addressing?
Well, the lack would come out probably at the end of the exercise, wherein we will do what is called...
what I mean is, before you decided exactly to form this exercise,
I'll come to that.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll come to that. At the end of the exercise, there's what you call an after-action review, where we'll all sit down, the operation commanders, the commander himself, and then we go through the exercise itself to see what has been achieved and what has not been achieved, and we find out the reasons why they were not achieved. And even what has been achieved, we will not still be satisfied. We'll still look at it and think, okay, can we do this better? However, to come to your question, each year the Chief of Defence Staff issues what is called a Chief of Defence Staff Training Directive, which covers a span of sometimes 1 year or 2 years, which articulates all the training activities, the exercises that the Gambia Armed Forces will embark on in the year or in the 2 years. And this is synonymous with all armed forces all over the world. So once the training directive is rolled out, at the level of the Chief of Defence Staff, that is Defence Headquarters, each of the services now, the Gambia National Army will take that directive and extract from it what is relevant to them to achieve the intent of the commander, of the Chief of Defence Staff and the Commander-in-Chief ultimately. Then the Gambia Navy too will also look at the same training directive, extract what is relevant to them to achieve their mandate in line with the intent. Then the Republican National Guard too will also extract from that same directive to indicate this is what we need to do during the year. So all these exercises and trainings will be, for example, you have cadre courses, you have intelligence courses, you have clerical courses, and so many others. These trainings, they determine, for example, for the other ranks, how they will move from one rank to the other in terms of promotion. And for the officer corps, it also entails issues like promotions from one rank to the other. So all those are also embedded in the training directive. So all these exercises, especially for the cadre courses and all that, will culminate in a field training exercise by the end of the year. So all these years, the question will be arising like, why was there not much of this training? In the last 22 years, we had a turbulent time. And in those days, most of these trainings were kind of frowned upon. Some people were kind of reporting others that, look, this training is not, the objectives and the purpose they are even professing is not what they are meant to achieve. Probably they have some other ulterior motives. So some, got into issues with that and had to scale down some of the trainings. However, we were still doing some low-level training within the battalions and also the services. But since the new dispensation, this is the first time we are organizing such a grand-scale exercise involving almost a battalion. So once we do our after-action review at the end of the exercise, we will now be able to, in a position to decide, okay, let's say next year or the next 2 years, we can go into a bigger exercise, probably talking about a brigade. And a brigade, when I talk about a brigade, you're talking about 3 times this number. Now we are training 726. So for a brigade, it's like 3 battalions. That's over 2,000 troops. So that too, there are a lot of issues that go in terms of the logistics requirements, the manpower planning, who are the troops to participate. You have to sit down and plan all that. So the logistics, the number of vehicles, the fueling, the communications equipment that you will need. So it's a huge budget. So we just want to start, on a low level for now, do this battalion exercise, and once we are out of it and do the assessment, then we'll be able to report to our commanders to say, well, this is the exercise and this is the outcome. We think we can do better in these places. We think we have, fallen short here. Because these are scenarios, like I said, armed forces no longer now are used to fight interstate wars. I can give examples. In Senegal, for example, next door neighbor, they are not fighting against an outside enemy. It's an internal security crisis. In Nigeria, for example, Boko Haram is an internal security crisis. And all these places is the military that is at the forefront. And why? Because it has to do with their mandates. For the police, at the basic level, it's to maintain law and order. But when you go up to a point and then you see that law and order is now lost, now you'll have to call in the other forces. For example, for our case, you bring in the National Guard. And for them, it's restoration, not maintenance, because we have already lost it. So when you bring them in, there is a procedure which we will test even in this field training exercise. Now, law and order is lost. Probably there's a demonstration, public order, disorder, and then the police come in, they are overpowered. You bring in the National Guard to restore that order. While they are doing that, there will be peace negotiations here and there, to calm the situation. But if that is still untenable, now you'll move to the next level to escalate, to bring in the National Army. So when they come into, it's still in that phase of restoration. But within all these layers, when the National Guard comes in, the police intervention unit, which is the backup to the police, general police, will hand over to the National Guard. There are formalities there. It's not just talk and then this guy goes away and all that.
Okay.
So once they hand over command of the situation, the National Guard takes up. They also go up to a point, if they are overpowered now, the Chief of Defense Staff will order the National Guard, that's the National Army Commander, to bring in the National Army. There will also be formalities here and there, and then like that. And then there will be like a de-escalation, we hope, like the Army is able to restore law and order. And once that is done, now it will go down. National Guard comes in, take over, restore, then go down to the police and the PIU, and then everything goes back to normal. So the scenario is basically like an internal security operation and counterinsurgency. So when you say internal security operation, it's like law and order is lost. Peace and security is threatened, and then the internal security forces are overpowered. So in that case, now you have to go to the next layer of the security architecture, where you bring in the defense forces. And for the defense forces, you bring in the National Guard first. When they cannot contain the situation, it escalates to the National Army. So for the counterinsurgency case, let's say, for example, for internal security, before I pass that, let's say a public order, a public disorder, a demonstration, and they refuse to back down. So for counterinsurgency, probably a particular area in the community or in the country is agitating for secession, like autonomy. They want to declare their own state. So the legitimate power in the country would say no to that, and would, direct the forces deal with that kind of situation. So these are the kind of scenarios we'll be working on. And yesterday when we had the press briefing, the commander of the National Army, who is leading this whole operation, did brief the press on the conduct of the exercise. And one thing we want to emphasize here is the scenario is fictitious. The players and the actors are the Gambia Armed Forces personnel and also members of the Gambia Police Force. However, we have other elements that we are using our own personnel to depict or play the role of the enemy. So that enemy we are depicting is also fictitious. It's not depicting a particular country or a particular organization or an individual. We also want that to be clear. Because to be able to bring realism into such kind of exercise and training, it's important that you bring assumptions to play so that all your variables would be valid. And at the end of the day, you'll have something at least that you can use as a benchmark, you know, to be able to learn lessons, to get feedback, and also improve on anything that you think needs to be improved on.
Yeah, so
These are
let's...
simulations.
It's a simulation.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I wonder, is this kind of a common platform for the different security units? Is it be coordinated?
Yes, there is a coordinating,
the idea?
there is an exercise staff planning group, which is composed of officials from the Gambia Armed Forces, and also officers from the Gambia Police Force, Immigration, all these other security agencies that are going to take part in this operation. First, what we did was to camp them in, we have a training camp in Sifo. We camped them there to take them through lectures and exercises and also training, so that we all come to on a common platform and then understand what is the general idea and the special idea of the operation itself, so that the police will know this is their role in the exercise, the military will know what is their role in the exercise, the National Guard, the Navy will know, and the Drug Law Enforcement Agency too, because some of the scenarios that we'll be playing out there have to do with drug and alcohol abuse and all that. And also we have personnel from the Fire and Rescue Services. That's why when you look at the composition, we have a 6-man team from the fire service. For them, their formation, they'll be providing a fire tender. So that fire tender is usually manned by 6 personnel. So if it was two tenders, probably would increase the number to 12. So for the police too, they are also bringing in personnel who would be practiced or trained or exercised in public order management, crowd control, etc., etc. And we'll also have the National Guard, which is also providing some troops, in addition to those from the State Guards Battalion. So they will be exercised in, drills like VIP protection, cordon and search, public order management, which is synonymous to their mandate, like that of the police and the PIU. Then the National Army will have bigger roles to deal with probably an enemy who is armed, equally like them, with the same kind of ammunition during the exercise. So on the 23rd, which is the culmination of the exercise in Kanilai, we are organizing what is called a distinguished VIP day. This one we are inviting all dignitaries, and His Excellency the President, Mr. Adam Barrow, is nominated as the special guest of honor for the occasion. And cabinet ministers have also been invited, security services chiefs have been invited, governors, and community leaders have also been invited. The National Assembly members have also been invited to take part in this on this VIP day. There are some other activities on drills that we will be showcasing too, so that they also have a feel of what we have in store, what we have trained our personnel on during the course of this year.
Interesting. So let's talk about the safety, of the residents of that area. Has that been put into consideration too?
Yes, during the planning phase, we also looked at not only the exercise itself, but how to even secure the troops who are on embarking on the exercise. So as they are, patrolling and moving towards Kanilai, we would also equally provide other personnel who would be taking care of their protection and safety. And that also includes even the communities in these villages that will be traversing through. So anywhere we harbor, we'll have our personnel still go out, conduct the normal, military daily routines of patrols, mounting checkpoints, just a normal military setting, and then some will be embarking on cordon and searching, convoy escorts, and so on and so forth. So there we would want to also appeal on the communities in those areas that let them not panic, go about their normal business. They have their farms to clear. The women have their rice fields to also harvest. So let them go about their business. The ammunition that we'll be using will be blank ammunition. They will cause no harm or no injuries to anyone. And also we'll also be moving around with some of our heavy vehicles, like the armored personnel carriers. Those will be commanded by the personnel from the Gambian National Army. So we'll be going through these areas from Sibanor tomorrow up to Kanilai, and we'll be passing through along the border. So some of the villages where we even intend to embark on some of the CIMIC outreach is, there's a village called Danilo in Fonyi, Sitanunku, Karunur, and Kapa. These have been identified during our recce as recognitions to find out some of the places, some of the things that we think we could do. So there is a mosque that we have identified to provide them with some things that they may need.
Okay.
And there's also free medical services that will be offered. So some of the communities will go there, screen the people. If somebody has some ailments, we have some first aid kind of kits and some medication that we can give them. So those with severe cases, our doctors will probably refer them to the next medical
So
facility.
finally, what are... Yes.
Just before you do your finally, I wonder, do you speak to the communities before you begin the exercises so that to get them ready, so that they will know what to expect and be prepared for it?
Yes, during the recce, we were able to identify some of our personnel from the Public Relations Directorate from my office. First, we sent out a public announcement, which is shared on our page, and also engaged the other media houses to disseminate the information. But we did not stop there. Now we got these officers to go down. In Boyan, we understand they have a community radio. So our officers were there all these days to sensitize the community about the impending exercise. And they have also gone to the other communities with support from the commanding officer in Kanilai, and also some of the key leaders in the area, like the chiefs, the Alkalolu, and BDC chairman. They have joined this team from the Public Relations Directorate to go to these communities to sensitize them. And the reception we had was very cordial and very good in that they commended our personnel for such an initiative to give them prior warning about this impending exercise, which I think is the right thing to do. So the communities are well aware of this, but we will still continue on the sensitization, because we believe that is also part and parcel of the exercise also.
Exactly.
Yes, just finally.
Yeah, we can close with that. We've exhausted the time already. Yes.
Regarding the sort of proposed community projects,
yes, sir.
Do you talk to the communities and ask them what they want?
Yes, we do, because that is also standard procedure in most of, even United Nations missions. When you go on a patrol, you engage the communities to find out what they need. So even during the exercise itself, other teams will go out to engage them to find out what are some of the things they need. However, we still also are keen observers. We can look around and say, okay, we think this mosque, the roof is gone. What do we think we can do? So because it's a quick impact project, it should not be something that will take us a month. So we need to be able to finish it within the duration of the exercise. So we've been able to do that assessment, and also, of course, in consultation with the communities to find out what exactly they needed during this period.
Thank you very much, Colonel, for talking to us on QTV this morning. And, we wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
And probably after the exercise too, we'll engage you on this program to tell us how it goes.
How it went, yes, sir. Sure. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Viewers, this is all we have for you. We'll be back here tomorrow, inshallah, for another edition of QTV This Morning. Thank you, Mr. Mboj, for co-hosting. Until we come here again, have a wonderful day.